The WNBA is at a critical juncture right now. Most people don't realize this, but it is. And because the athletes forced a new CBA talk 2 years early, well, 2.5 years early, they have messed themselves up. Literally, they have messed themselves up because they thought that they could get more money without realizing that the average athlete in the WNBA isn't bright enough to realize what they have to do to help bring about a better CBA. You have more marketable athletes that are coming into the WNBA. These people are starting to figure out, because of NIL and because of the education that's associated with NIL, they are starting to be more noticed before they come into the WNBA. The WNBA, the owners in the WNBA know that this is good because they'll be able to work on, some of the owners know that they'll be able to work on the infrastructure that is needed for these teams to be better, to have the same level of infrastructure that, say, the NBA, the NFL, and other pro leagues have. But the athletes in the WNBA don't understand anything except to scream for more money. They don't realize that by forcing this CBA, they've actually forced themselves to take less money. And because the owners know this, some of the owners have probably been in Engelbert's ear. I'm not saying I know this 100%, but the refs not calling hand checking, the fouls that are happening all across the league, and some of them aren't even being called as fouls. We're talking about Dejanay Carrington yanking women down by the hair of their head. We're talking women getting slapped in the face. We're talking about the hand checking that is going on with Caitlin Clark when that hasn't been allowed probably the entire time the WNBA has been around. We're talking there are women literally getting away with physically abusing Caitlin Clark and others and not being called, which is frustrating fans, which is lowering the amount of people that are watching the game. And after the CBA talks, all the owners have to do is go, okay, now have the refs actually call the games correctly. Seriously, that's all they have to do. And that'll help make the game more profitable. And they're going to be working with less money than what they would have had to pay out from a CBA talk that would have happened in 2027. So let's get into this a little bit.
Hey folks, this is Paul with Redneck Sports. I want to thank you for viewing my video, and I want to give you one thought process. There was a famous coach at the University of Tennessee by the name of General Robert Nealon. He had 6 maxims, but number 2 maxim is what everybody should apply to their life. Play for and make the breaks. When one comes your way, score. That's how to live your life right there.
When the NBA started, notice I said the NBA. When the NBA started, they already had a nationwide marketable star. That was George Mikan. He was so marketable that when the Minneapolis Lakers, yes, they moved to LA afterwards, but they started out as the Minneapolis Lakers. When the Minneapolis Lakers went to Madison Square Garden to play the New York Knicks, it wasn't billed as Lakers versus Knicks. No, it was literally put up on the marquee, Mikan versus the Knicks. It led to his team, after Mikan got dressed and said, okay guys, let's go. He goes to walk out the door and nobody followed him. And he's literally looking at them, and they're like, "We're not up on the marquee. You're the only one up on the marquee. You can go play the Knicks." Now, mind you, they were joking with him, but it really was what people were looking at. George Mikan literally brought money into the NBA. When he left, it was like 1956 when he left. Yes, there were people that were still watching the NBA, but it wasn't until 1962. And mind you, the NBA started in late 1940s. 1962 came around, so a little over a decade. Then you had your next big superstar, Wilt Chamberlain. Wilt Chamberlain by himself sold out every arena but his own. Whatever team he played for didn't get all the benefits of Wilt Chamberlain because you oversaturated in your home on your home turf. Okay. So this then developed into, hey, him and Bill Russell of the Celtics, hey, that's a rivalry. The Celtics during this time, from I forget exactly what year it was in the 50s, but for 13 years until the 1969 season 68-69 season, for 13 seasons, Bill Russell and the Celtics won 11 championships. Over 13 years, 11 championships. Bill Russell, player coach for 3 of those years, uh, star center for the entire time. Because of how big of a name he was for the Celtics outside of Boston, no joke, the Celtics were selling less than half of the seats in their in the Boston Garden. Boston Garden had a 14,000 seat capacity. They were selling on a regular night 6,500 seats because Boston didn't like that there were so many black guys on the team. But it didn't matter. Across the entire country, the rivalry between Wilt Chamberlain and Bill Russell became somewhat of a thing, even though Wilt Chamberlain was still more important when it came to actually the playing. Bill Russell was so good that it became a thing. Okay, Wilt Chamberlain, after Bill Russell left, Wilt Chamberlain still was selling out stuff, whatnot. You still had Jerry West, who had become a big name by that point, but he became a big name in the sense of Bob Cousy. Jerry West was amazing, so was Elgin Baylor, Oscar Robertson, all these. In comes Kareem Abdul-Jabbar. He was Big Fundamental before Big Fundamental. So he was kind of boring, but the ABA started being viable because of Dr. J. People became excited about Dr. J. So you had 2 competing leagues, and both of them were hurting each other until they combined. Dr. J came into the NBA, so he brought some of his power, and then all of a sudden, 1978, I think it was 77, 78. NCAA championship, or 1979, pardon me, I'm doing all this from memory. In the NCAA championship, Indiana State versus Michigan State. Michigan State was led by Magic Johnson, and he had a good team around him. At Indiana State, you had Larry Bird and a bunch of eh. I don't think anybody other than Larry Bird on that team went to the NBA. That rivalry carried over. You notice how I'm going over these years. The WNBA has been around since 1997. Have you heard of anybody that could, until Caitlin Clark? We're talking 28 years. Have you heard of anybody in almost 30 years of the WNBA being able to sell out a auditorium or a game like George Mikan, Wilt Chamberlain, Larry Bird, Dr. J, Magic Johnson in 30 years? In the first 30 years of the NBA, you had multiple stars that could do that. The WNBA has not had that. I could go on and on about history of the NBA. The WNBA has not had stars. Okay, they've had Cynthia Cooper Dyke, they've had Tamika Catchings, they've had Candace Parker, but none of them have been able to sell out crowds. That is a problem. Now, you finally are starting to get people paying attention. And because it's taken this long, the WNBA has not had the ability to build what is necessary to underpin the league to make it better, and the players don't understand any of it. Let's get into that a little bit more. Up until this point, the WNBA has been a fringe league. It is a league for those that aren't watching baseball in the summer. Seriously. It's also for those that aren't watching the G League because the NBA has fans. They want to see who is possibly going to move up into the NBA, who's going to be future. And so if you don't watch professional baseball, you watch the G League to see who's going to go into the NBA. There are no college sports, so you don't have to compete with college sports. ESPN, ABC, NBC, there is no wide world of sports. So you don't see Olympic sports on TV as often anymore. So you're only competing with MLB and then the G League, but the WNBA is third on the sports that you can watch. If people even care to watch sports. Summertime, nobody wants to come indoors all that often. So you're now pushing it out to the fourth option. Okay. You have, no matter what people say, you have not had any marketable stars in the league. You've had stars, but they haven't been marketable. Think about that for a second. Candace Parker, who I adore, who I am a big fan of, she was on TNT. She was analyzing NBA games. How much did that really help the WNBA? Seriously. Probably not much, for the simple fact of that if you become an analyst, that usually means that you are no longer playing the sport. So people were thinking, oh, if she's an analyst, she's no longer playing, so why should I watch the WNBA? Think I'm joking with you. I'm not. She's been the most marketed athlete for the WNBA, and I can guarantee you she didn't bring that many eyes to the WNBA. Now, I just gave you a history. Let's look at what is going on currently. The first big news, literally, for anybody to know anything about the WNBA was Brittany Griner getting arrested in Russia and the whole ordeal dealing with Brittany Griner. In other words, your first major nationwide massive way to get eyes on you that are actually going to get people paying attention to you is one of your biggest stars is arrested and is in Russia for drug crimes. Seriously, that's your biggest, the first time that a lot of people ever actually paid attention to the WNBA. Okay, fine. That's not a good thing. Even though that Candace Parker has been out there, people aren't really that much paying attention to WNBA because of her, like I said. The whole thing with Brittany Griner, not a good thing. But then Sabrina Ionescu, who is marketable, goes, let's get a 3-point contest between me and Steph Curry. Hey, that's a good thing. There's some positive news. You've got NBA fans seeing a new WNBA star in a positive way. That's good. During this time, you've got NIL growing within the NCAA, which means that some of the women who are playing college basketball are being seen as marketable, aka Caitlin Clark, aka Paige Beckers, Haley Van Lith to a degree. That NIL is a good thing. That's getting people seeing these. But then you have Cheryl Swoops causing controversy by opening her mouth and telling untruths. She is saying things that are provably false, and that causes controversy. In other words, you cause everybody who are going to pay attention to Caitlin Clark to not think that the rest of the WNBA is worth anything. Because you've got a legend of the WNBA, the old guard, that is going against somebody who is a young woman who hasn't done anything to you. Has just been amazing for women's basketball, but you're attacking her. And once you start looking into Cheryl Swoops and her WNBA, you start going, well, that's not the kind of basketball I want. I want to watch the Caitlin Clark basketball, not because of skin color, but because Caitlin Clark actually gets out there and scores, like Sabrina Ionescu. At the same time that Caitlin Clark and Sabrina Ionescu are getting noticed for good things, all of a sudden you've also got Angel Reese, who is marketable. She got mentored by Shaq. I unfortunately don't think she was mentored enough by Shaq because the mentoring that she got got her to start her own YouTube channel. That's a good thing, or should be. But then you watch her YouTube channel and it's like, okay, somebody needs to take her to the side and give her communications lessons. They need to talk to her about how she needs to present herself and WNBA athletes. Not saying she's done a horrible job of it, I'm just saying that she's made mistakes that are fixable. So you've got Angel Reese. Angel Reese is bringing in a few fans. I'm not saying that she is not. I am not even going to get into that argument of while yes, she is not bringing in anywhere near the fans of Caitlin Clark, she is helping. She is marketable. Okay, not as marketable as she should be. The third person in Caitlin Clark's class. There are 3 people that are important from Caitlin Clark's graduating class. Cameron Brink. Cameron Brink is very important to the WNBA, and people don't realize it. She is the god sister of Steph Curry. In other words, people that like the Curry brothers and Dale Curry have a reason to start watching the WNBA. Now, unfortunately, she got injured. She still hasn't gotten on the court, but she has turned that time into creating a YouTube presence, a social media presence, not just because she looks good. She's engaged, so she doesn't have to get out there and model. Plus, she's 6'4", and most guys are looking at her going, I wish I could grow a few more, or grow another foot or more. But they listen to her because she is telling stories about Steph Curry, and people love hearing stories about Steph Curry. They hear stories about Dale Curry, and us old heads of the NBA love like hearing those stories. Oh, and there's stories being told about Steph's brother, Seth, which is even more NBA connections. She's bringing in the Curry family, which is bringing in more reason for the NBA fans to watch. She is far more marketable than people realize, and it has nothing to do with skin color. She is connected to the Currys. And while there are some political reasons that I don't always agree with Steph Curry is still been a positive influence on the NBA. He's had some negative influence too, but that's semantics as to the 3 point shot on whether what's gone on is a good thing. Not because he of anything bad. It's a him playing the game that he plays has influenced the NBA to change the way that it's doing things as a trend, and that may not necessarily be a good thing. It's not a bad thing, but it's not necessarily a good thing. But Steph Curry is still exceedingly marketable, and you have somebody connected to him that is in the WNBA in a very intimate way, a brother sister kind of way. And the WNBA knows that those three came in, plus Sabrina Ionescu knew that Paige Beckers was coming in, so they knew that they had marketable people. Oh, and Haley Van Lith, because people were actually talking more about Haley Van Lith than they were Sonia Citron and all these other rookies that came in, except for Paige Beckers. Think about that. WNBA knew that all these people were coming in. This would help marketing, but the Players Association forced CBA talk 2.5 years early because they saw these people coming in and the NIL influence and all of this, and they thought, hey, we can cash in because the only thing we care about is money. We don't care about growing the sport. You can't tell me that the athletes of the WNBA care about growing the sport. Now let's talk about the CBA. Now we're finally going to get into the crux of it. The CBA and the owners came at the wrong time for the athletes. The athletes, the culture for the athletes in the WNBA has been idiotic. Seriously, it has been idiotic. They play politics, and it's not good politics. The people that are going to watch sports on a regular basis are not the kind of people that want to hear politics, period. If you're going to talk politics, okay, fine, we don't mind once in a while, but you're trying to force us to listen to all your politics. And then so many of these athletes go, well, if you don't agree with me, you don't watch me. Okay. It's been that mentality. You've got this mentality. I could care less, liberal, conservative, whatever. Yes, I am a minarchist, which is considered a conservative in my personal life, but this has nothing to do with any of that. If Kevin Sorbo came out and said, if you don't believe what I believe, then don't watch me, guess what? That means that you have become a little too whatever. And yes, I know he's Christian. Yes, I know he's conservative. But even I, as somebody who is Christian and is conservative, am going to go, why should I watch this? Why should I watch somebody who wants to force you to be a certain way to be his fan? That's what a lot of these WNBA athletes are part of. They are part of that culture that people have gone, I'm not watching entertainment for this. You're already the fourth choice during the summer. And for most people, it's not even the fourth choice, it's the 10th choice. But fourth choice is best option. Going outside, if you love sports, you're going outside doing sports. But if not, then you're watching baseball. If not, you're watching G League. If not, you're watching WNBA because, well, like I said before, there is no wide world of sports. You are not seeing Olympic level sports on TV anymore. And I missed that. I'm an old man. I missed I missed the wide world of sports. That was amazing during the summertime. I got to see things that, wow. But these, the women that are in the WNBA are constantly talking politics, and that turns people off. Those are the women that have more of a voice than those women that I named before. Sabrina Ionescu, Angel Reese, Caitlin Clark, Cameron Brink, Paige Beckers. Whether those athletes agree with them or not, this is a culture that has been created by the Players Association. Well, this new generation is coming in and they're bringing eyes from NCAA. They're bringing eyes, not bringing rivalries, unfortunately. There are no rivalries anymore. I don't know what that's about. Everybody wants to play kumbaya. But they're bringing eyes and they're looking at the WNBA. Hey, they play a game and for 5 or more minutes on the court, nobody scores. It's just them running up and down the court and missing shots. Nobody wants to watch that. But you have Caitlin Clark, Paige Beckers, and, okay, Sabrina Ionescu, and they're actually hitting shots. Sonia Citron is hitting shots. You've got players that are starting to have a better chance of hitting shots. That's a good thing. But the old WNBA culture is we don't want you because you don't speak our language. We don't want your fans because they don't speak our language. And the WNBA owners are going, okay, keep that up going for now. Slam people down by the hair, grab each other by the hair of the head, break every rule out there because it's causing the viewers during the CBA talks, it's allowing us to use those views. Seriously, think about that for a second. I'm not saying that I'm completely right about this, but if you're in the middle of talks and you can juice it so that whatever you want is more apt to come because the other people are going hog wild for beans and barbecue and making themselves look bad, aren't you going to allow them to allow themselves to look bad? Seriously, that's what they're doing. Whether it's a concerted effort or not, that's what's happening. The players are being allowed to act buck wild because this is going to make them get paid less during however long the CBA period is going to be. They forced new talks for the CBA, and the owners went, we can push this down the road a little bit longer, which means we can build the infrastructure. Oh, and we make more money. And the players can't defend the fact that nobody wants to watch WWE basketball. They can't defend that when they finally got a superstar in the WNBA. They've had stars. They have not had a superstar. When they finally got a superstar in the league, they have attacked her fans and attacked her. Physically attacked her. You can't take that back. This is hurting viewership. So why have the refs make calls every time that they hand check Caitlin Clark, every time that they pinch Caitlin Clark, every time they hit Caitlin Clark? Why call that? Because the more that the players abuse Caitlin Clark, turns off more fans. It does. And this makes the talks for the owners better. It makes the owners be able to provide numbers during the CBA and go, hey, we're not getting the views. You want more money? Well, we're not making any more money. We're making some more money and we can give you a little bit of a raise, but we're not making the money that you think that we're doing. And then, as soon as the CBA talks are done with and all that's taken care of, all of a sudden the refs might be going, hey, you're hand checking. That's a foul. You're pinching. That's a foul. You're slamming women down. That's a technical. All they have to do is wait because this is going to get them more money in their pockets and more money for facilities and staff once the CBAs are done. They know this. There are marketable people that are in that have just came into the league, and there are more marketable people on their way. But the WNBA ownership also understands that they don't have to cash in on that just yet, as long as the associate or as long as the Players Association is wanting to force things that they can't back up. So some of the owners are smart enough to realize they can wait. Not every owner is smart enough to realize this, but there are owners that are smart enough to realize let the players act buck wild this season. Cause people to not want to watch games. And this will help them during the CBAs. No joke. Now, you tell me what you think about that one. The WNBA and the NBA, which is why the NBA is starting to lose viewership, doesn't have real competition anymore. And what I mean by that is you don't have Jordan versus the bad boy Pistons. You don't have Russell Chamberlain. You don't have Lakers Celtics. You don't have Magic Bird. Now, some folks try to get Angel Reese versus Caitlin Clark. That's not a real rivalry. Anybody watching the game does not think that that's a real rivalry. Now, if they had gone Cameron Brink and Angel Reese, okay, that'd be acceptable. It would be. It would be acceptable. You've got somebody who should be a far better athlete or better basketball player than she is in Angel Reese, a, who is a forward playing against an athlete who, okay, she probably needs a little bit more seasoning, but is a basically of the Curry lineage, while not by blood, is still of the Curry lineage. Those two as a rivalry, oh my lord, that's something that you need to do. You want to know who the real Caitlin Clark rivalry should be with right now? No joke. I want to see. Some people are going to say Clark and Beckers. No, Clark and Citron. I think Sonia Citron is somebody who low key going to be one of the good ones. Paige Beckers, okay, fine. She's with the wrong team right now. Either that or they're needing to fix that team. And on top of that, she's with Dejanay Carrington. I hear people talking about Kennedy Carter needs to come back to the WNBA. No, keep out Kennedy Carter. Keep out that mindset out of the WNBA. What you need is you need to get away from having to have enforcers in the WNBA. First and foremost. Two, you need to start having real rivalries again. Well, okay, there's never been real rivalries in the WNBA, but you need real rivalries. And you need players that understand all of this. No more kumbaya. When the Fever play the Sky, it should be just like what people are thinking it is. And yes, the Fever and the Sky is a rivalry. Not much of one, but it is still one. I want to see the Sky get to the point that it becomes a rivalry that people want it to be. But the athletes need to understand that they have to act like somebody. They are fourth or worse option for people to watch anything on TV when it comes to, well, okay, how people spend their time. And that's not even counting the fact of that that's even if people were inside watching this stuff. So, this is what's going on with the CBAs. The owners understand all of this. They know that they're finally getting the people in, and from the sounds of it, the Fever ownership doesn't. But there are some owners within the WNBA that understand that they are finally getting athletes in that are marketable and have already been marketed because of NIL. And so they're going to be able to grow finally. But the athletes don't understand this. Not all the WNBA people understand this. But those few owners are the ones that are smart enough to know, hey, get the refs to allow these players to go buck wild. We'll make more money to be able to. Some of it's going to be invested. Some of it's going to go back to paying off the fact that they haven't made a profit ever. But that's the problem. The athletes that have a voice, the athletes that get to have more power among all the athletes, have forced stupidity onto the WNBA. And if they continue to have that power, they are going to continue to force the athletes of the WNBA to be unmarketable. And they're going to keep causing fewer and fewer people to watch. You're going to see this growth in the WNBA, and then you're going to see it just fall off a cliff. And they don't understand that. They think, oh, they're watching because of us. You know what? Aja Wilson is a very good basketball player. She is a star. She's barely marketable. Dejanay Carrington, beautiful woman. I honestly think she's an attractive woman. I don't know what you think, but I think Dejanay Carrington's an attractive woman. She should be marketable. Yanking somebody to the floor by the hair is not marketable. You killed your marketing because of her actions. Kennedy Carter, great basketball player. She's unmarketable because she's trying to fight. Bill Laimbeer, it was a good basketball player, but because he was seen as a violent individual, nobody cared. His reputation is forever marred because he was seen as an enforcer, as a bad boy. Because of those things, people don't like Bill Laimbeer. What I've seen of Bill Laimbeer, if he's just shooting the basketball, if he's just playing basketball, not acting like a thug, Bill Laimbeer was a good basketball player, and I would have enjoyed watching him just be a basketball player. He wouldn't have been as well known, but still, we don't need that in the WNBA. We don't need any of that. What we need is basketball. And you're not seeing that from the athletes. And so they're playing into the owner's hands by doing all of that. But that's just my take on it. You tell me what you think. This has been Paul with Redneck Sports. Y'all have a good day now. Bye.
I want to thank you for watching my video. And if you like what you saw, like, subscribe, and comment. Y'all have a good day now.